Last time on Kevin's commentary on comics, I talked about the first epic crossover in the post-Crisis DC universe, Legends. I talked about the book overall and hit on The Flash and Suicide Squad. So let's get into the other stuff right away. Well, at least after the opening. This book also reintroduced Captain Marvel, Shazam, into current DC continuity. So previously, he was part of Earth S, one of the parallel universes, and now we've got the merged Earth. Captain Marvel needed to be introduced, and Legends helped to do that. Billy Batson apparently has a job as a TV interviewer, and is also Captain Marvel, so he features rather prominently in this book. Also, the big thing here was to reintroduce Wonder Woman to the DC universe. So after Crisis, Wonder Woman did not exist at all, and within the pages of Legends was her first appearance in the new DC universe. People didn't know who she was. Her book was just being rebooted. I believe that was the George Perez run on it. So her first appearance in the DC universe was here, and again, no one knew who she was. And John Byrne drew a great Wonder Woman, let's face it. So in addition to the previously named hero, we also had the Blue Beetle, who had his own series going on at this time. And I kind of think DC was trying to prop him up as their version of Spider-Man. So they featured him in this book. We also had Cosmic Boy, the Changeling from the Teen Titans, and Batman and Robin. And this was the Jason Todd Robin, probably one of the very early appearances of him as Robin outside of the Bat books. Kind of tragic because a year after this book ended, Jason Todd was subject to the Death in the Family series that was going on in the Bat books. You know, this is the one where people called in to determine whether he would live or die, and everybody said he should die. I say everybody, that's not true. It was a very close vote, as I remember, but edged into him dying. Of course, that was not permanent. He's back. And finally, we also had Firestorm in this book, and as I mentioned before, the Justice League Detroit version that was going on at the time. So I will admit, after reading the 6 issues that consists of the Legends miniseries, I didn't feel like I was getting the whole story, which in truth I wasn't. Legends miniseries was the core book, but there were several chapters that, crossed over to other books. And without reading those along with this book, this one just kind of felt like a promotional tool. I mean, pretty much it was, here's a character, Guy Gardner. There's another one that was featured in this book fairly prominently. You have a page or two on him, goes over to Batman. Page on him, goes over to Superman. Page on him, goes over to Blue Beetle. This was consistent. Black Canary, there's another one that was in this featured in this book as well. In that terrible 80s costume that she had. Ooh, I'm so glad they went back to the fishnet stockings and mostly black outfit. So what was interesting about reading this, not having the other books to read along with it, is that this type of story, core crossover event issue, doesn't hold up as time goes on. I read this, and like I said, felt like I'm not reading all the story, and why are we jumping around so much? Could you finish out this one plot? And it wasn't because they decided not to, it was just done in a different issue. As I go in and I'm going to read other probably miniseries of big events, like let's say DC, The Crisis on Infinite Earths, I want to reread that, but I'm concerned, am I going to not get as much out of that 12-issue miniseries because I'm not going to read all of the other crossover events? Or would this be the case where that would be much more of a complete story and I'll be fine? Legends, I'm going to just say up front, no, it is not something you can go back and read without reading the other chapters. Now, what would have been nice if Comixology, in their section where they had Legends, actually had all of the crossover books in there as well, and presented in such a way where I could have downloaded all of it and read them in order. That really would have been kind of nice, and a lot of events like this are done like that in the Marvel Unlimited app or the Marvel app, and I'm sure even in Comixology they've got some of these big events tied together so that you're reading each of the individual issues along with the core as one continuous story. But they did it with Legends. That would have been kind of nice, at least to have, maybe the Superman crossovers, the Batman ones, whatever ones that really were essential to the story. Because I remember one panel where they're saying something about going after Superman and creating a boom tube, and then nothing was ever said in Legends at all about what happened there. So it was kind of weird. And again, going back and rereading these with a fair chunk of time between when they originally came out and to now, you lose something. It doesn't quite fit up, which, again, now that these things have become more readily available through digital format, makes you wonder how successful or whether it's worth going back and reading core books to a crossover event. I wish I could come up with more examples, but I can't. This was a significant one, so I was kind of surprised at how kind of unfulfilling, I guess, overall it was. So I'm going to get into issue number 1. Okay, so let's just stop right here. I was going to step through each issue, but as I thought about it more, I decided that I'm not going to do that. Now, as I said, Legends is more of a, I guess, kind of a clip book that just features a page or two of each character and adds to that particular character's story that is really going on in their main book. This is a problem, like I said, with core event books like this. If you aren't reading all the chapters that spill over to the other books within the Legends crossover, this Legends book is somewhat hard to read. Now, the main story within Legends is the ongoing persuasion that Darkseid, via G. Gordon Godfrey, was to usurp the free will of mankind. Now, what they didn't count on was the children. The innocence that all children have below the age of 10 or so was an immunity to Godfrey's powers, and they rose up with the aid of an almost crippled Robin against Godfrey. Now, Godfrey did what all evil people do and struck a child, which basically broke the spell over all of mankind, and thus Darkseid was defeated. Kind of, I guess. And basically, the Phantom Stranger won the bet that he had with Darkseid, saying that free will is everywhere, and especially in children. And that was really the main gist of the Legend story, and probably could have been done, I don't know, maybe in an issue or two, rather than 6 of them. I mean, 2 or 3 pages of each issue was dedicated to just recapping what had gone on before. So really, 2 oversized issues could have easily told this main story. Now, maybe I'm just kind of jaded in my old age, but I kind of thought that this was a little too easy of an outcome for the book. It just seems that this has been done before, maybe a lot. But possibly in the mid-'80s, this wasn't the case. You know, I don't know. I don't remember. It is funny because as I record this, I just saw the Pixar movie Inside Out, which basically deals with the loss of childlike innocence as one gets older. And perhaps it's a bit of a stretch to tie this into Legends, but I think it does kind of relate. Children have this wonderful view of the world that really only gets corrupted as they get older, and they learn more about it, and they have experiences that cause them, sadness and fear and humility and all that type of stuff. Inside Out really kind of explored that, and it is a wonderful movie, especially if you have kids that are moving from the single digits to the double digits like I do. It's heartfelt, it's funny, and very, very touching. I really had to choke back many a tear. Go see it if you haven't seen it already. So back to Legends. I'm not going to dive into each issue. I think you get the idea of what the story was about. And as I said, each issue really just tends to be repetitive. It doesn't really lend itself to a page-by-page review. At least not to me. So we're going to go back to some of my original closing comments regarding the core book overall. And we'll just end this thing right here. Okay? Okay. Did you read Legends? Have you reread it now? I'm actually more interested in people who have reread Legends now as opposed to reading it originally. If you reread it now, what do you think about it? Are my thoughts close to what your reaction is? Again, big story arc, big crossover event. You've got the core miniseries to it, but without reading the other stuff, it falls flat, which was probably actually a critique when this first came out. One of the things that is a problem with crossover events is keeping up with all of the other titles, especially if it's a title you don't normally read. It was very evident in reading this on its own, encapsulated by itself, without anything else. Again, with a certain amount of time, I thought this would be a little bit more of a joy than it was, but overall, really kind of weird. In the meantime, my name is Kevin, and that was my commentary, at least overall about Legends. Why don't you hit that subscribe button so you can see? Then you'll get that little email saying, hey, new episode, Kevin's Commentary and Comics, number whatever. So hey, until next time, let's keep those legends going. Hey, yeah.